Hey everyone, my name is Joe Bartle, and I'm going over the three players I love and hate entering Week 11. Let's start with the players that I hate first. Najee Harris has to be on that list. Now, he's banged up this week. He should play. That's not why I'm fading him per se. We know the Ravens' defense is really bad against the pass. I think the Steelers are going to be passing the ball plenty, whether it be to George Pickens, who has turned into a superstar overnight, or even Mike Williams, who's going to get more acclimated to the offense. Najee Harris and the Steelers are going to bang their heads against the wall because they want to establish the run. Part about establishing it needs to work, and I don't think it's going to work all that effectively. There's a number of other running backs in that running back 2 flex range that I'd rather have. I mean, he's probably in the same spot as Rico Dowdle, Alexander Madison. Those types of running backs I'll play Najee Harris over, but just about everyone else, given how good the Ravens defense is and what I think will be a relatively low-scoring AFC North battle, I'm staying away from Najee Harris if I can help it. Joining my hate list this week is Darnell Mooney. We traditionally highlight the Broncos secondary in this love-hate matchup. For whatever the reason, I feel like it's important to give credit to Patrick Surtain and the Denver Broncos because they have been fantastic defensively and especially in secondary. You think of Darnell Mooney as the slot receiver for the Bears, but he's actually played the most outside snaps of any pass catcher for the Falcons this year. That means, you named it, he's going against Patrick Surtain, and I want nothing to do with that matchup. Kirk Cousins also banged up too. He probably should play, but even still, bad matchup, clashing of styles, as my buddy Jim Coventry would say, between what the Falcons want to do, pass, and Broncos want to do, stop the pass. It means Darnell Mooney is outside the equation. I would rather play Juwan Jennings, Lab McConkey, Cedrick Tillman, Jacoby Myers, Calvin Ridley. There's a wide group of receivers that are above Darnell Mooney this week. Finally, the last player on my hate list this week is Jake Ferguson. This was one of my guys, one of the players I liked, especially as a low-end tight end one. And, well, yeah, it's Cooper Rush. You saw what happened last week with the Cowboys offense, and that's not changing at any point rest of season. You have a better chance of convincing Jerry Jones to put blinders up to cover the sun than the Cowboys offense actually looking good rest of season. I'm not trading CeeDee Lamb with the Cooper Rush, Trey Lance stuff, but just about everybody else, whether it be Jalen Tolbert, Brandon Cooks, if and when he comes back, Rico Dowdle, you name it, the rest of that Cowboys offense is in a really, really bad spot. I think Jake Ferguson is outside the top 10 tight ends this week and probably rest of season. I mean, look at the waiver wire guys alone that you could probably have. Mike Gesicki, Will Dissly, throw in Dawson Knox if Dalton Kincaid can play. I would rather have all of those and the Pat Freiermuths and Taysom Hills of the world than Jake Ferguson, and that's not just this week. It might be this season. If you could subscribe to the channels, if you could like this video, that'd be fantastic for me. But overall, lots of great content right now on the RotoWire YouTube network. Please look at those videos if you can. Diving into the three players I love this week, and we'll go to the Chargers first. Not often have I mentioned the Chargers, at least from a passing capacity, but we know the Bengals defense, not very good. Justin Herbert is just outside that quarterback streaming conversation, but he's quarterback 7 or 6 this week, given how bad the Bengals defense is. The Chargers have ran the ball more time. The Chargers have attempted more runs than passes 5 times this season, but most of that's come early on, especially when Herbert was banged up. Outside of the Titans game, where the Chargers are the better team, basically from the snap, the Chargers have been passing the ball more. You've been seeing Quentin Johnston get out from big plays. Lab McConkey has been a reliable PPR asset. The offenses look good, and Herbert's thrown over 250 yards in 3 of those last 4 games, again, outside the Titans. That should happen again this week for the Bengals, and Herbert is playing some of the best football that I've seen of his career. Every pass seems to be on target. He seems to be throwing in rhythm. He's got a mobility and a confidence to him. I don't know if it's Jim Harbaugh. I don't know if it's just playing with a competent scheme, coach, system, but Herbert has been fantastic as a real quarterback, and I think in fantasy, he's going to be fantastic this week. The other 2 love players for me actually are in Cleveland. Let's start first with Nick Chubb, who I would imagine has been a disappointment for a lot of people who have tried to hold on to him or stash him on injured reserve. Yeah, Nick Chubb's been getting a lot of carries since he's come off injured reserve a couple weeks ago. It hasn't resulted in a lot of production. The Saints allow the second most fantasy points to opposing running backs. We just saw Bijan Robinson tear apart the Saints last week. Nick Chubb's no Bijan, but that's not a slight on Nick Chubb at all. And I think we're talking about now 4 or 5 weeks post-injury, post-activation of injury reserve, I should say. That's going to matter. Nick Chubb at least is poised to score a touchdown, and if he continues to get the 12 to 15 carrying volume that we've seen over the past couple weeks, he's due for about 60 to 70 rushing yards. I love him from a prop bet perspective, but I think Nick Chubb is easily in the running back 2 territory, and he should be started just about everywhere. Again, sticking in Cleveland, the other guy I love, and it's the last week we could probably sneak him in there, it's Cedrick Tillman. Since Jameis Winston has taken over as a starting quarterback, Tillman is averaging 11 targets per game. Yeah, a bit of junk time production 2 weeks ago for the Chargers game where he scored that touchdown late and the game didn't really matter. But it's important that Tillman has become more or less the alpha or 1A alpha to Jerry Jeudy, and that the Browns offense wants to pass the ball is really important. Tillman, in my mind, is one of those building blocks for a Browns team that's going nowhere and would deserve some investment in what's going to happen from that third-round pick. I would assume Cedrick Tillman is a play and start confidently rest of season, but this is going to be the best matchup for him for the foreseeable future, given the Browns have a tough schedule to come. Tillman, I would rather play Tillman over Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'd rather play him over Romeo Doubs, Jordan Addison, Jacoby Myers. It's that Zay Flowers range, which at this point in this week against the Steelers is low-end wide receiver 2. That's about where you have Cedrick Tillman. So just about every time, like Jalen Waddle's of the world, give me Cedrick Tillman. And I think he's going to have a monster week once again.